Welcome, everybody. We are doing a fireside conversation about Masai wisdom for business resilience. And I've got with me today Jonathan, and he's a great colleague and friend, and he always is very inspiring with his coaching capabilities, but also his amazing athletic capabilities as well. We only have a few minutes, so I'm going to launch. You know me, I'm Mandy Young. I've spent many years observing wild animals, walking and talking with the Maasai, and swimming with wild dolphins. I've been super blessed to be able to learn so many life lessons from being able to spend time with them. So I'm just sharing with you some of them today. I'm just so often with the Maasai, we think that, this is kind of an indigenous group. They don't live like in a modern society. So what can they really teach us? But, they've had to learn to survive in really, really harsh conditions with very few assets and very few resources. So how they've learned to survive, I think, has great value for business resilience. And when you meet the Maasai and you just spend time with them, they have kind of like a calm and a confidence. They just seem to know exactly who they are, where they're going, and what they're supposed to be doing. And most importantly, I think one of the most important leadership traits is you need to have a sense of community, and you need to have a sense of generosity to the people that you serve. So the Maasai have very distinct roles that they take on from very early on. So it's something that begins when you're a child. And when you're a child in a Maasai community, you are from a very young age given responsibility. So you're given responsibility to look after a goat or a sheep. And it's that kind of early responsibility that makes them understand that there are things in life that you need to do, and it's not everybody else's responsibility or problem. So maybe an example I could give is, I know on one particular visit to the Masai, a hyena appeared. We were walking in the bush and a hyena appeared. And this little guy who was looking after his small little group of goats saw the hyena, and he was only 5 years old and a little thing. And he came running at this hyena with a stick. And fortunately, hyenas are quite cowardly, so it ran off. But one thing that shows, that little kid knew that in order for his community to survive, sometimes it might cost him his life, that his life was less important than the survival of the community. And I think that's really, really amazing. So then when children get to about 15 years of age, teenagers, they then, now I'm talking about the boys, because the males, the females have a whole different role in the community. So when they get to about 15, they are then promoted to becoming warriors. And as warriors, in the past, they often used to spend 5 to 7 years away from the village, looking for wild animals. And they then had to take on a greater sense of responsibility. And to initiate into this warrior situation, they have to go through a ritual of circumcision, which is quite severe. They have to do this without showing any fear, without cringing from it. They have to be very manly about it, which is quite tough. And maybe in our Western society, we try to get men to embrace their emotions and speak out their emotions. But in the Maasai community, if you don't face this challenge with this kind of bravery, you're often sent out of the village. You're considered as not somebody who's going to be valuable in protecting the village, because they have quite harsh situations that they face on a daily basis. And if you can't have the courage, you're not going to be able to protect your community. So the warriors who stay at home, their job is to look to make sure that the community is safe, and they take it in turns to do that at night. So often a Masai person might say to you, "How was your night?" And at first I used to think, that's a bit intimate. How was my night? But actually, it's very important to you, how was your night? Because in their night, you know, they could be facing hyenas, lions, all sorts of predators. So when they ask you that question, it's about, I hope you were safe during your night. And another example is, you know, we were walking along and one of the warriors saw a bit of rubbish. And, you know, normally in our society, that an older person or a boss would send a younger person to go and do the dirty work. But that wasn't the same with them. They will pick up the rubbish as an example of how it should be for those people that they are leading. So they kind of lead by example in that way. And when they get to about 25, 30 years of age, they then can enter becoming an elder in the community and in their tribe. And up until then, they have three things that will signify how good they are as a warrior. The three things are spears, feathers, and shields. Now, spears represent power, feathers represent wealth, and shields represent their status. So when they become an elder, about 25, 30 years of age, they then pass on those spears, feathers, wealth. And again, it's very different to in our business situations. You know, we kind of, the older people or the more established, the higher ranking in an organization will hang on to their power and hang on to their assets. You know, they won't hand it down to the younger up and coming employees. So yeah, so it's a community that really knows how to look after each other, how to take on responsibility. They care about their roles in the community, and they know how to, you know, like in our business world, often people know that they have a job and they know what the job description says, but they don't always know how to apply that. They don't always have mentors like they do in a Maasai community who will help them along the way, because often the people are higher up in organizations are even more busy and don't have time to mentor those who are sort of up and coming. So in the Maasai community, the women have a very different role. So they raise the children, build the mud huts, fetch water and firewood. They also help look after the livestock and distribute the milk. So they're very much the glue that holds the community together. So I think what stands out the most is just how the Maasai have clear roles as to how they are to perform, clear responsibilities, clear tasks. And I think that's a really important thing to understand, but they also don't lead by being powerful. They're more like shepherds. They more support those who are coming up in the ranks, those who are younger and growing up to be elders. So I think that's an amazing organizational structure or process for resilience. And maybe just a few words in kind of ending. They also look at what are their assets. So they don't have many, as I've said. But if you go to a Maasai village, about 20 huts, and then right in the middle, hedged in, are their goats. And sometimes those goats are even more protected than the people. And sometimes you can go back to your organization or to yourself and say, what are my goats? what are my things that I have to very carefully protect? And I know one organization who did this, they went back and said, well, what are our goats? And they actually realized when they thought about, is it our brand? Is it our marketing? Is it getting new clients? They actually realized their goats were their current clients. That sometimes if they're doing too much marketing or branding or trying to get on new clients, they're not protecting those real assets, which are their current clients. So maybe I'll leave off on that note. What are your goats? What are your goats?
I like that.
Yeah.
Mandy, I have a question.
Sure.
So from your knowledge of the Maasai communities, so with regard to leadership and power, you know, of course, you know the saying, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. And of course, the Maasai do that quite well. But with regard, you know, there's a good side to that where everybody's contributing and everybody knows their role and they're all assisting. But there could be a downside in some kind of villages, maybe not the Maasai, where there could be somebody who has all the power and misuses it and abuses it. So what is the, you know, I have this image of the American Indian power base of everyone sitting around in a circle and everyone gets an equal opportunity to talk, and it's a community thing. And is it similar in the Maasai village where, and also what is the women's role with regard to the power base in the village and when important decisions need to be made? How does that happen? Is there a hierarchy?
I think because of how they grew up with very much a community focus, power and individual power is not even a considered thing. You know, everything that they do is for the benefit of the community. You know, even those warriors, when they have that circumcision, it's their statement or their commitment to being a husband who looks after, they do have several wives, husband who looks after several wives and kids. It's kind of, it's everything that they do. Like that little boy I spoke about with the goat, that he could have lost his life going after that hyena. But from that early age, he already knows that my life is less important than the whole. So if they're growing up like that from 5 years old with that kind of mindset, it's very unlikely they'll get to be an elder and have a mindset where I'm going to grab all the money, I'm going to grab all the power. And, you know, and my experience with the village headman that I work with, so that's all I can really speak about. And actually I've met, he's also organized a big meeting with all the other village headmen in a I want to call it like a homeland, but I don't know what the proper term is. It's amazing their level of teamwork, the way that they want to cooperate, they want to support each other.
Sorry, my computer has run out of battery. Sorry, carry on, Mandy. Sorry about that.
That's fine. You have to quickly plug it in.
I did, and I've done it, and I'm good. I didn't want to suddenly lose you.
I was wondering where you suddenly disappeared to, walking to fresh air. But I knew you were still listening.
Could you repeat the very last bit about that, your experience with headmen that you have met?
That, for example, we came together to talk about three things. We came together to talk about education, about growing sweet sorghum as a biofuel and cattle fodder, etc., and help with the drought and replenishing the earth. And then also establishing a tented camp where they could host tourists and pass on their cultural wisdom and knowledge. And so John Supuk, who's the village headman I work with, he got together all the other village headmen. And I was really amazed at how they supported one another. There wasn't this sense of ego or competition or, one person had to be up, if one person had to be up, another person had to be down. There was very much the sense of group cohesion and group support, so from that small little unit of the village, with every village being like that, when you get together with all of them in the village, it's the same thing. It's the same mindset.
Amazing. Mm.
And I think there's been a lot of talk in the leadership circles at the moment about, having a different kind of mindset, not only of one of adaptability, which the Masai are really good at, because they've got to adapt to drought, to floods, to everything, but also to a leadership style that serves the people. And I know somebody I spoke to recently was looking at, wrote an article on the Russian leadership compared to the Ukraine leadership at the moment. And that was one of the points was, democracy compared to dictatorship. But one of the points was, even as a democratic leader, you should be incorporating a lot of diverse ways of thinking to be a good leader.
Okay, well, thanks. Interesting.
Anyway, thanks, Jonathan, for joining me. And I know that you have to dash off now, so we'll call it a day. But it's been a really great time to chat and meet and learn from the Masai.
Yeah, it's been a nice chat as always. Thank you, Mandy, and I look forward to the next one. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye, Jonathan.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.